Hello, welcome, greetings. This is post New York Comic Con, post Baltimore Comic Con, and it is a Monday afternoon in the States, but we are actually kind of live from Italy. And I'm really happy for today's conversation. We have a great creator with us, someone I've been wanting to talk to for a long time. We've had an association for like a year and a half, maybe almost two now.
I think so.
Yeah, it's getting up there now.
Yeah.
It's getting crazy. But that's comics. That's how the universe works. That's how the community works. But we have Jonathan Hedrick joining us today. Jonathan, hello, dude. I'm so happy to talk to you today.
Yeah. How's it going, Brandon? Thanks for having me on, especially post back-to-back cons. So
you're the reason why I got out of bed this morning.
Good.
Man, so dude, you've been up to so much. I've been watching what you're doing on Substack, on like your Instagram, on your Kickstarters, with your books. We spoke, I think, just on the Ink Spotlight, either late last year, earlier this year when we were doing that.
Right.
Just wrapping a book up and promoting it. You've been killing it. You've been doing you're so active and you're so on top of it with your writing and with your craft. How do you kind of balance, knowing your marketing strategy? I think that's the biggest thing creators struggle with is, how do I promote my stuff properly and clearly and gain a following, because your Substack, I feel like every time I check it, you're building up more and more and leveling up a bit more on that.
Yeah. Well, it's a lot of moving parts. There's not really a quick how-to, 60-second YouTube video that you can watch. And I fumbled a lot. It's a lot of learning as you're. I like to use the phrase "flying the plane while you're still building it," and seeing what other people do and learning from that. Taking what I like from I like how that guy makes his posts. I'm going to try it and see if I can do something similar and put my twist on it, or that looks like that didn't work out very well for that person. Maybe I won't imitate that. Or maybe I can take what they did and turn it around so it works better. So I'm not reinventing the wheel. I'm seeing how other people are using the wheel and customizing it the way it might work best for me. And I'm always adapting to that, especially with how social media is nowadays. It's a constant moving target, and it's I feel like where it is now from where it was around like 5 years ago when I was really getting into this comic book path. It's not the same. So we've had to overcome and just learn from the mistakes, learn from how it's adapting. Whether we know it or not. Sometimes it's an organic change. Sometimes it's just a sudden change. So the best way when it comes to marketing, it's always good though to have some plan ahead of time, especially when it's going to be a long drawn out promotion, like with a Kickstarter campaign. Because a Kickstarter campaign, you don't promote that the same way you do with like a direct market release. They're two different sports. They're not even, not even the same arena. They're different sides of the hemisphere. So, like with a Kickstarter, there's a long path. You should be promoting it well before you launch, especially nowadays. That pre-launch page is crucial, and where I see a lot of mistakes from people who don't fund well is that they didn't market prior to launching very long. So I could go on and on. I don't want to.
That's one that's really interesting, because all of us as creators and artists, we look at our heroes and we're just like, you're not recreating a drawing. You're not inventing the wheel in your drawing. You're just like, you're pulling from all your influences. And you kind of have to have that same mindset for, I guess, marketing your book and your promotions. And like, I love that what you're saying is just like, you're going to pull from everyone that you see having success and being like, this worked for them. I'm going to have to test these things out and not be afraid to fumble, like you say. That's
Exactly.
like, you're gonna mess up.
You don't be worried if you put out a post or a newsletter and it doesn't get any likes. That's okay. Don't feel like it didn't get looked at though. That's a whole another thing. Likes don't equal views. And one thing I'm going to steal from someone else I saw, I wish I knew who I could quote for this. They said, look at it as if you're building an archive for future fans. So one of these days, when you have a larger audience, those people that really dig you, they're going to go back months, years through all your feeds, and that's going to be something for them in the future. Whether it didn't hit now, it could hit later. So that's just how marketing goes.
That's a great mindset as well, because there's that Warren Ellis book. I think it's called Come In Alone. I don't know if you guys have look up that book, everyone in the audience or even you, because what he did, he collected a bunch of, I guess, CBR articles he wrote about making comics and all this stuff, like, and used it like a journal entry kind of.
Yeah.
He made a book out of it. So you have all these like internet archive posts in this really informative book that I've read multiple times because one, it's entertaining, it's engaging. And it was, at the time, he was one of my favorite writers. And I want to like learn more of his mindset. So it's the same thing with your Substack, like you're making the archive, and who knows, once you get a certain amount, dude, that could be collected material too.
You never know.
And even with your Kickstarter pre-launch, I think I remember you saying like you were waiting to hit like a certain number of followers before you even launched. Was that within your marketing plan? Did you have a set date you wanted to launch, or were you focused more on getting pre-launch followers before the launch?
It was a little bit of both. I had a target date in mind that I wanted to launch, but I also wanted a certain follower count by that date. Now, if I didn't hit that number, would I have still launched? I don't know. It depends on how close those things aligned. But I feel like nowadays with Kickstarter, you should be, depending on your popularity, your fan base, how many prior campaigns you have. I wouldn't feel comfortable launching without at least 100 followers on my pre-launch page. Even more, I would really like 150. I've never even had a campaign reach 200 pre-launch followers. So that's like a goal to get to for myself to achieve with a future campaign. But I think that's crucial stuff. So that was part of the marketing plan, was the pre-launch itself. And that was a little more than 30 days. So that's the marketing of the pre-launch page is longer than the actual Kickstarter campaign while it's live.
What was
that says a lot.
What's your, like, when did you start that pre-launch page, and what was your intended like limit on that?
I started the pre-launch page, I believe, a day or two into September, with the target of launching on September 30th. I would have probably launched that pre-launch page sooner had I didn't realize that Kickstarter made a change recently where they uncoupled the pre-launch activation with the approval of your page. So I was still under the mindset that your Kickstarter page had to be fleshed out enough before you hit the, send it to be approved. And then once it gets approved, they'll let you activate the pre-launch page. That doesn't exist anymore. You can have some very basic fundamentals on your page and already activate the pre-launch page. I'm not sure the minimum requirement. I think it would at least have to be, like your thumbnail photo, graphic, and a few other things. Had I known that, I would have launched the pre-launch page or activated the pre-launch page a lot sooner. But then even before that, we were already looking for backers or potential backers through BackerKit. Because BackerKit, you can BackerKit launch, you can start collecting leads from their landing page, and that will, if you use BackerKit launch, those leads will go into your BackerKit launch emails and communications too. So marrying those two things, your pre-launch and backer kit launch, is I think two really good resources, especially if you already have several campaigns underneath your belt.
Okay, so backer kit, that's something I'm not completely familiar with too. And I know backer kit is the one big, if there's any competitor for Kickstarter, it's backer kit. And you could even see what they're mimicking and what they're doing. So does that mean you're also running two campaigns at once technically, or is it all kind of fluiding to the Kickstarter campaign?
No, it's backer kit offers several different services. So the one that I'm using is Launch, which is essentially they act as a third party that collects all of your, it pulls in all the data from your previous Kickstarters, and you're able to email all those people at once. So let's say across 10 campaigns, I've collected 1,000 total backers. Maybe I didn't get 1,000 backers per campaign, but collectively I have 1,000. So they pull that data, and now I'm able to email those 1,000 people without using my own email service like MailChimp or even Substack. And what's even better about that is I can filter out the people who have already backed once the Kickstarter's live and only target the people that haven't backed. So now I'm not promoting the Kickstarter to people who already have backed it and bugging them, or worst case scenario, reminding them that they backed it and then they pulled their pledge because for whatever reason that they have a right to. So that's one of their services is Launch. And I've been using Launch for the past 4 campaigns. I wish I would have used it sooner. I highly recommend it. It does cost. I will say, I think it's, I believe it's $99 and you get it for 3 months. So if you're considering using Launch, Backer Kit Launch, I recommend getting it. So within those 3 months, your campaign is in the end of those 3 months. So you want because you want to use Backer Kit Launch during your entire campaign and your pre-launch too. So don't pay that $99 until you know the time frame for those 3 months.
Okay, yeah. I wish I used that for the last 4 campaigns.
Yeah. I wouldn't recommend it for anyone who has 1 or 2 projects underneath their belt. I think you need to have a total amount of backers that would be more than 500, combined, and then start using that service.
Oh man.
Then Backer Kit also has their own crowdfunding platform, which I haven't used as a creator. I've backed other people's campaigns. I can tell as a backer, I'm not too keen on their platform yet to launch my own, creator campaign on there. I think there's some things I would like to see them. They're getting there, but I like the idea that it's all underneath one house. They have Launch, they have their crowdfunding platform, and then they have their other service, which is the fulfillment service, which is a whole other entity in itself, which Kickstarter is now implementing something very similar. The only thing that I've used, but I haven't used Kickstarter's fulfillment, but I was a beta viewer for Kickstarter. I didn't get to, they walked me through it, asked me for my advice and stuff. But I have used Backer Kit's fulfillment service once before. Wasn't a big fan. But the benefit is they have cloud hosting. So you can upload all your digitals and then Backer Kit can send them out. And I don't have to make a ton of Dropbox links, send out those emails through my own personal email account and start, getting my email flagged for spam and stuff like that, or sending them through Kickstarter's private messaging or updates. So the cloud hosting is a big, that's a win. I think that's where Backer Kit's fulfillment service has a leg up on anything that Kickstarter has at the time. So that's a much cheaper service, and you also have the opportunity to make more money because you can do when you build your surveys with the backer kit fulfillment service, you can add on things. So it's like a last chance for backers to grab that, extra add-on, tip one more time, some exclusive that's only available, at that moment. And you can keep that page open longer too. So it's like a living store. So there's pros and cons. You can make that money back that you paid for that fulfillment within those surveys.
Cool. Man, that's so much too. I mean, and even that cost of $99, but when you have, like Apollo has like probably 8-10 campaigns on our page right now. Like, and our first 4 were the most successful, where we had 100 plus backers, like near 200 on some. And I think pulling that, even though they're a few years old, I think it still pulls some of that information.
Yeah, all of them. And then you could also pull in any other email lists that you have too. You can import those. So you can import all your email lists into BackerKit Launch. So maybe that it pulled your 1,000 prior backers, and then you have an extra 2,000 from whatever email, collection service that you have. It won't double, send if those 2 people, were on the same list, it's not going to send it out twice. So that's another way. Now you're sending those you're using just the backer kit emails instead of using your list from whatever service you're using. So if they're unsubscribing from backer kit, they haven't unsubscribed from your other list. That's the big I'll talk a lot about that because I'm unsubscribing is how do I not get more unsubscribes? That's like a common thing for me.
I mean that, and it's because, even I'm sure with your own email, you have so many services and companies you signed up for, and you're just like, man, I have too much. I got to clean house. And you're cleaning your own email list out and knowing what's key and what's important and what supports people or not,
Right.
That's so interesting because I thought I was brilliant because when I did my Substack, which I'm terribly inconsistent at, I need to get way more traction and just, discipline on that too.
It's okay.
But it's like, I pulled all my, I went back and realized like on all of our campaigns, I was like, do you want to be subscribed to our newsletter? A standard question, because we always knew we were going to start one. And I realized all these people said yes. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to put them on my Substack. So I just added them to my Substack email, and the welcome letter they get, it's like, oh, hey, wondering what you're doing here. You probably backed a Kickstarter. You probably did this or this. And it kind of gives an explanation. And that boosted my Substack readers really high right off the gate. And it was really positive. But now it's just the upkeep and the maintenance behind that to keep doing it. How do you keep your Substack simple but also informative? What are some of your advice for creators trying to get their own newsletter, just platform rolling?
Yeah, it's something that I'm still learning myself. I'd say first, follow other people and follow some of your favorite creators, and follow creators at different levels. If you keep on, you're not going to be able to mimic what Jeff Lemire and Scott Snyder are doing. They're able to do things a little different because of their experience and history within the industry. Follow them too, by all means. It's still a lot of great information, but follow your peers and follow the people that are closer to where you want your next goal is, not where you want to leapfrog to, but the person that maybe has a couple more publishing credits than you, or has been doing this for a year or two more. Follow them, learn what they're doing, see what you like, see what you don't like, take the good, take the bad, and figure it out. But it's ever changing thing for me. Like I was mentioning about unsubscribes, whenever I'm going to send out a newsletter on my Substack, I always say, is this going to be worth the potential 1 to 2 unsubscribes I get? I pretty much get at least 1 person unsubscribe from my Substack with every post. Now, keep in mind, I have about 875 subscribers, which now the higher that number is, the higher the unsubscribes are going to be. I know someone who told me they have a million something email followers, or they have a list of a million people. I don't know what service that's on, but they told me that they lose 1,000 so every single email, so that it balances out.
Yeah.
So I tell myself, is this going to be worth it? And on top of that, am I sending something out just to send it out, or do I actually have something new or something worth saying? And that goes back to just a rule with writing too. Is this sentence, is this word, does this have purpose? Use that with your Substack or whatever your newsletter is going to platform your newsletter is going to go out on, and then go from there. And don't always try to be pitching something. Don't always go after like, I want you to buy this from me. I want you to back this. Try to offer something. So, for example, my this month I did on International Coffee Day. I gave the full 24 page issue of my coffee related comic book, Caffeinated Hearts. It's been out for 3 years. I don't feel like by giving it free, offended anyone who's already bought it or backed the Kickstarter that many years ago. So and another thing I do on my Substack that's I think helps balance some of that stuff is I make all my posts archive after 4 weeks. That creates a little sense of urgency for the readers. So read this now for free, or paid subscribers can read it once it's archived. So that everyone's getting it for free, but the sooner you read it, the sooner you can actually read it for free. So I used that International Coffee Day, gave the full issue of Caffeinated Hearts, and then at the end, I mentioned the Kickstarter I'm running. And that's what you kind of want to do. You want to give and then ask. Give, ask. And then I repeated that about 10 days later for Zombie Day, World Zombie Day. Gave 24-page zombie comic book away in my Substack. Read it for free. You have 4 weeks to read it for free. Oh, and by the way, this is a reminder. I have this Kickstarter live. This one's in pre-launch. And just keep on, if you keep on doing that, and not everyone has a free comic book to give. I get it. I don't have enough to give for every single newsletter, but that's just one idea. Think about what you can put out there without just being like me. And get creative. Get creative with it.
I mean, I was even the post I stopped working on on my last Substack when I was looking at my drafts. I was kind of doing a step-by-step on the mini comic I made. I gave them the process behind it, and then they could just download it for free and print it and fold it and make it themselves, And I was like, here's how I made it. Go make your own. Do this. I think I just got busy and I just stopped. But side note real fast, I had no idea you did Caffeinated Hearts. Crazy you said that, because I know that book because I own it. I don't remember where I bought it from, but it got my attention because the art style and the just the title itself. Yeah. And you telling me that, I was just like, wait, is that the same book? And I just like the Instagram page popped up. I mean, Kickstarter. Dude, I've had your book for years.
Oh, thank you.
It's insane. It is a great book. It is super rad. It is beautiful.
Thank you.
Crazy. It's super crazy. I had no idea. How cool, dude. I'm kind of shocked. I'm gonna go dig that out of a box right now and read it after this.
Well, thank you. Have it with a cup of coffee.
My second one today will definitely be joined with that book.
Perfect.
Today. How rad, dude. And that's even crazier. Like you've done work, and sometimes you don't even realize how far it's been distributed or whose hands at some points too. But Crafting your Substack, how do you think that's benefited you, one, as a writer, but two, how has it benefited you as promotional stuff? Is it gaining you followers on Kickstarters? Do you think it's enhancing the way you're able to express yourself and able to connect with yourself more when you start writing your stories?
It's a little. It's hard to tell as far as whether it's been helpful with the promotions. In with Kickstarter on their dashboard, you'll see the referral list. Telling you where backers are coming from, which isn't a perfect science. So let's say someone reads my Substack, and at the bottom they have my little ad for whatever Kickstarter I'm running at the time. They click that link from Substack. It opens into Kickstarter. They back the project, and I get, it says there's a referral from Substack. But here's another scenario. Someone reads the Substack, they see the ad, they click the link, and it takes them through a different browser that they don't have their login and password for Kickstarter already saved in. So instead, they just close out of the Substack app, open the Kickstarter app, search for the name, and then that referral, even though they saw it in Substack, that referral for that pledge is going to read, Kickstarter in-app search or something like that. So it's hard to tell how much that's actually helped, but it can't hurt either. So, and it took a lot of work for me to get to where it's at, and it's still, to me, it doesn't have an identity like a lot of other people's Substacks do. One post I'm talking about, here's a free comic book. The next post, the one I just dropped one about 2 hours ago, is just my tips on writing the horror genre. The next one might just be what I ate recently, what I watched recently, what I'm reading, not about me, but what things I've enjoyed, more like a kind of like a journal. And that's what I recommend for everyone who, or for anyone who doesn't have that much to put out. Don't feel the need to put something out at any particular amount of time. Don't say, all right, I'm going to do it weekly. I'm going to do it bi-weekly. I'm going to do it once a month. Do it when it's organic. But what you can do in between posts is just draft something and come back to it later. 1 paragraph a week. That's what, 4 sentences, 5 sentences. That's it. If you can sit down and do that once a week, then you're building your next post while also exercising your writing craft. And that is where it benefits you as a writer. It can hold you accountable to continue to actually write. So, and then it could even go further. As a writer, you should also be reading. So if I'm discussing what I'm reading lately, so I'm writing about what I'm reading. So I'm exercising reading. I'm staying up to date on, the industry, or getting some inspiration from a different art form, maybe novels, maybe movies, maybe music, whatever it takes. Write about it. And you don't have to have a long-winded dissertation about it. Just 4 sentences. There's people out there that are doing reviews of comic books, maybe people that are reviewing your comic book, and they're doing it by 5, 6, 8 paragraphs. If you could just write 4 sentences, and then you do that over a period of 4 weeks, then you have a 4-paragraph post, which isn't that long, but it's worth reading. It's not too long to be boring and someone doesn't read it. It's not too short where it might as well have just been a tweet. And then sprinkle in some graphics, break up those paragraphs. That we're in the 21st century, or we get we lose our patience really easily. We're distracted really easily. Break up those paragraphs with like a cute GIF, or a picture of yourself, a picture of your cat next to your comic book, whatever it is. But do that, and you'll have a nice, beefy newsletter post at least once a month. But but if you can't do it once a month, that's okay too, as long as you're doing something in between,
That makes sense. I mean, I think a lot of people get caught up on like, oh, it's not enough information, or if it's too short, or it's too, I need to make it longer. It's not long enough. And it's just like, just get your point across. And if you have a second point about it, make a part 2. It's not a bad thing, just knock it out. It's all about just not. And I did that mistake right when I started my Substack. I was like, this is gonna be my Sunday Substack. I'm super hyped to be doing this week, and I fucking did that. And then I was like, this is now my monthly Substack. Like in May. But now I'm trying to do like a thing where it's like, well, I had a lot of stuff happen in the last couple of months, so that means I have a lot of things to write about. So I think I'm going to be covering, here's what happened in May, here's what happened in June, here's what happened. And it also gets me time to reflect on the year a little bit and then catch up where I'm at now. And I think, the audience is going to appreciate that. And I love, that was a lot of, assurance for me too, in what you were saying, because the way I break up my Substack is I'll tell you about just some random thoughts. I'll go into like the point of the Substack there. And then I'll do my promo stuff. Like, here's all the Kickstarters. Here's a book to buy that just came out. And at the very bottom, here's what I've been watching, listening, and reading to. And so I'm always doing recommendations. And I'm like, thanks for tuning in. I'll see you guys next week, or whatever I'm doing on the shows, or, new stuff here. But finding that rhythm, and just, you find that structure just like you would your craft. You find your structure and your beats of how you tell your story. And then you're like, there's my blueprint, like approach craft with the blueprint and the mindset behind that. Like, I don't know why people think writing or creating comics, you could just go in blind all the time, when like you wouldn't build a house without a blueprint. You know what I mean? You need to refer to that type of stuff. And so that's all structure. You're building structure to know the repetition. And that seems to brought you success. Your current book right now on Kickstarter, it's doing great. It's you're almost at the 4K mark. Right there, 50 backers, and you have about a little over a week to go. Like, Footpath is just a killer, interesting title, interesting premise. You want to talk about your campaign real fast for a little bit?
Yeah, so it's called Footpath: Dangerous Nights. It's set in a larger comic book universe, but it's its own story. You don't need to read anything else to enjoy this. It can read as one shot, but it's set in a universe called Chess, which is an acronym, CHESS, which was created by another comic book creator named Alfred Page. Now, Alfred's been working on this Chess universe for years now. I met him back in, I want to say 2019, at a small convention in my hometown in Melbourne, Florida. And we've stayed in touch. And then about 2 years ago, he asked me if I would write this comic book. He had the idea. He had the blueprint for it. He had a couple of pages already written, but wanted me to flesh it out to the full 32 pages. So Footpath is, she's one of the characters in this Chess universe. This is going to be her first solo story, though. She's been in teen books. She's essentially a marksman, a sharpshooter, but her tools of trade is darts, these lethal darts, and she's like Bullseye or Hawkeye in that way. And she, in this particular issue, her mission is to infiltrate this elitist party on the host's private island, because there's potentially a laboratory underneath the mansion where an auction is being held for these horrendous experiments with, black market organs and things like that. So she glides into the island, infiltrates the party, and then needs to set up the explosives. But everything doesn't go according to plan, and she has to fight off some henchmen and even more. So it's just a rad 32-page comic book that takes place in this like one moment of time. That's my kind of stories. I like short time lengths with my stories. And I think people will, if you like GI Joe, if you like Birds of Prey, if you like Agents of Shield, this is the kind of like espionage, spy, deep undercover type, not too supernatural, a little bit grounded in reality with a little bit sprinkled of far-fetchedness. Then I think you'll like Footpath.
Oh man. So this was a gig that you were basically hired on for, essentially?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, Alfred hired me to write it, and I banged this out January 2024. He started getting the artwork done for it, but I'm not sure what happened. But a few months ago, he reached out to me and said, "Hey, would you mind running the Kickstarter for Footpath?" He's done a few Kickstarters himself. They weren't successful. So he asked me since I am familiar with the book, I wrote it. It wouldn't be just me running it for someone else's book. I was like, yeah, I have, even though I got paid to write that book, I still am invested in it. I still want to see it out, And so I was like, yeah, and it fell into my Kickstarter schedule this year. I had a gap, and I was like, okay, I could fit that in there, and so here we are. It's in a way, it's a little bit less stress for me because he's responsible for the artwork, and paying the creators. I'm responsible for getting it funded and then giving him the money to get the rest of it out there. So it's a way for me to step back from all the responsibilities, but not all of them, but some of them. And it's helped a lot because how he's just as invested as I am. So this is the first campaign where I've had someone else pushing it as much as I am. Mostly I'm the only one, I'm doing 99% of the marketing and promotion. Mm-hmm. But Alfred's been on 2 or 3 shows himself. No one has ever been on a show promoting the Kickstarter for a book I'm running other than me. Yeah. So that's helped a lot. That when it comes to promotion, if you can get someone else to promote just as much as you can, if you can find a buddy and you call them up, hey man, I'm going to be running this Kickstarter for 30 days. If you could comment and share everything, I'd appreciate it because that is huge. In the social media landscape where it's just so much white noise, the little bit of engagement you can get is huge.
And are you spread out on social media? Like, are you doing the full-fledged Facebook, Instagram,
oh, yeah.
Twitter, TikTok, and all that type of stuff?
Everything but TikTok. And thankfully, Alfred's doing TikTok. Yeah. But I'm doing Facebook, Instagram, Threads, Twitter, Substack notes, and Blue Sky, and on top of email newsletters and the backer kit. So it's casting a wide net. But that, to me, that is where the success is. You have to cast a wide net. I've seen so many creators, all they do is they just share the link on Facebook and that's it. I'm like, all right, man, you're going to get as much out of it as you put into it. So just sharing the link and not getting creative, like show them an interior page, show them a process page. Do a quick video, make a reel where you're explaining, this or that. My new thing lately is making a graphic where it shows either the cover or interior page and like some type of progress. So before we reached goal, I was like, all right, we're at 70%. Next post, we're at 75%. Next post, we're at 80%. Now that we've reached our funding, now I'm going to be like 10 days left, 9 days left, 8 days left, and give them all the information in one graphic, because like I was talking about, we have a short attention span, we're distracted. So if I can put everything in that graphic, what the title is, a cover or interior page, a link, a link where they could read it and then go to Google, not just, random letters and numbers. You can get a tiny URL for free. You can get a QR code for free. All these, there's tools out there that you can make for free, and then you just keep on using them, and make it everything look organized too. Try to have a format so people see these things and they can associate it with you. You're branding yourself as you're marketing yourself too.
Well, even the post that you put up today, actually, that I just checked it on the Comix Wellspring Instagram when I was like going through. And it's very informative, swipeable post that let you know the book, where the book is at, what you're getting.
Right.
It showed that you were on the show today. It gave some more information after that. So it was telling a story. You're telling a story through your posts. And as storytellers, it's just kind of thinking that mindset. Like, we hate social media, all of us. None of us are really on the social media brigade of just like loving the platforms.
Yeah, no one loves it.
It's all forced down our throats at a certain extent. And like, even that, how do you balance out like what you're following on every platform? How do you just kind of put focus on one for a certain amount of time for gaining traction, and then they all kind of exist? How are you kind of juggling? I have X amount of people on Twitter, and then you have X amount of people on Facebook, and then how do you kind of juggle that aspect? Because I feel like that's overwhelming for me. Is ensuring Blue Sky has a traction and following. Oh, I got to switch gears to Twitter and Threads. Or you're just kind of using it. CWS, I use a social platform to post everything because it's just faster for me, for the day job. Sure. But what's your idea behind social media in that essence?
That's a tough one to juggle too. Sometimes it's easier when you have something to promote, and I don't always have something to promote. But when I have a Kickstarter, and if I can spread out and not have to have enough images, enough graphics, so I'm not just sharing the same cover over and over and over again for 60 days, 30 days pre-launch and 30 days campaign. I can really stretch that out and make it so I have something different to share each day. So like for this current Kickstarter, we have 5 covers and 7 complete interior pages. So what I'm doing is an interior page one day, a cover the next, then an interior page, then a cover, and that's 12 different posts. If I do one a day, I'm not sharing the same thing until 13 days later.
That's smart.
And then because, like I said, I cast a wide net, I'm on all those platforms, but not all those platforms work the same way. I can't say everything I want on Facebook. Like I can't say everything I want on Twitter like I can on Facebook. It's more condensed, One thing I've been working around that with is using the alt text. They're big on alt text now, for the people that aren't able, the visually impaired. So I have my little Post-it note that can we have a visitor.
Called it at the beginning of the show.
I gotta tell you, I miss those days. My cat passed away about almost 2 years ago, and I remember when she would jump on my work calls and stuff. I'm like, let her, because one day, I need to. That reminds me, I need to go look up some old interviews so I can see Tessa and her little cameos.
I feel that my dog passed away a year ago. And so it's just not the same without your animal. There's such a part of your integral everything. And even now I do that segment, Cats, Coffee, and Comics for CWS. And I was like, my cats are going to get in every video I do, no matter what. I might as well embrace them and put them in a show, because every Spilled Ink interviews. I mean, this is Booby. He's the one that he punches me in the
Booby.
So, and then Sebs is passed out right next to me over here. He's more chaotic, but yeah,
That's
they are
awesome.
part of the CWS ecosystem. Now they should be on
I
payroll.
love it. I mentioned alt text. So I have my post-it note. I use the little post-it note thing, that everyone has. I have 1,000 of them. I've been copying and pasting that blurb for Footpath, the name, a synopsis, and the creators into the alt text of as many images as I can. So maybe I can't provide you with the synopsis in my tweet, but I can tell you to see the alt text for the synopsis.
Oh,
So
wow. Yeah, that's smart. Man,
yeah.
'cause I always did, like, I guess in the blogger, I worked for a marketing company where I did a bunch of blogs at one point, and then writing for comic book companies, the alt text, they were just like, just describe the image. You know what I mean? Just
Yeah.
describe whatever's on the image so it's easy. That's what it's intentionally there for. I
Right.
never thought about putting like the synopsis of something in
Why
the
not?
text. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
That's so
Yeah.
I'm gonna rewatch this whole episode to take more notes.
And I can't tell you who I am taking. I pulled that from. That was not my idea. I saw someone else do that on Blue Sky, and I'm like, I'm doing that from now on. You only get 280 something characters on these microblogging websites.
Mhm.
Threads gives you a lot more, but why not? You're putting that information in there. That's wasted space if you don't use it. So I've been doing that. So my Facebook posts are much longer because you can put more in there. Are people reading them? Maybe. Who knows? But there's a lot of the general rules like don't put the link in the main body of the post. Put it in the comments or put it in the thread. That's a big mistake I see a lot. People put those links in. Even better if you can get your friend to post a link instead of you. Then that is engagement. That was a comment someone made and they put the link in there. One of the things that me and Alfred talked about, I said, if I tag you in a post, make sure you like and comment it, and I'm going to like your comment and comment on your comment. So that is the engagement. Now we're going to see that post is going to get more traction instead of just me tagging people and no one doing anything with it.
Yeah.
So that's just how much science and how accurate is it? I don't know, but it's better than just a dead post.
Yeah, hands down. That's smart too, is kind of formulating like a plan with your team, and just having an understanding there of some expectations for,
Yes.
you got to grind this out for a month. Like we just got to keep up with it, and then after that you can kind of breathe a little bit. And what you were saying, this book in particular fit within your Kickstarter schedule. How many books are you launching per year at this point?
I think this year I'm going to have 3 complete. With the intent was 4, but I'm going to aim for 4 projects for 2026. I would love to get on a steady 3-month. I'm live, and then as I'm post campaigning that one, I'm pre-launching the next one while fulfilling the previous one. If I can get on a steady rhythm like that, then I think it'll that would be ideal. If I could get 4 campaigns out a year, I think that's perfect for someone. I don't have a team. I'm in Italy. I'm in Italy, so I have to outsource the fulfillment. If I was in the States, I might be able to maybe do 6, pushing it. But I think 4 is a great way to not to overwhelm myself and to not do anything wrong by the backers.
Oh yeah, that's smart. Even with that's a smart number to kind of play with. 4 to 6 in general. Apollo put out, I mean, we've been around for about 2.5 years. We've put out nearly 20 books and like almost like 15 campaigns or something in that time.
That is a lot. Yeah.
This is crazy. But during that, we realized, especially this year, was that we put out too much. We kind of had so many cool creators like that were onboarded that we were ready, just like we got excited for, and we wanted to roll out a Kickstarter. show them that they have success, and everything's worked out as far as like successful campaigns. But we're realizing like the marketing aspect and the breathability and letting the audience catch up and letting the algorithm catch up. And there's some books sometimes we'll just list on the site for release, and you'll get a handful of orders and digital and physical. But like if we would have led into that with more time, or just promoted it more once it was released, and not let it get buried by a new book, right? What you're saying at the beginning of the show is so important, especially Kickstarters or just indie creators in general. It's different from a direct release. Like a campaign, what you really do need time for. An indie book, you really need time to market. And if you treat it as just a direct release, you will have a lower impact than any other, approach, I guess, to a release.
Yeah, 100%. Unless you have a huge capital to burn through, there's no point of Boom, IDW, DC, Marvel, Image. They can afford to do that because that's also expected in the direct market to have something new coming out every single week. But when you're a self-published crowdfunding creator, that expectation is not there. Get everything perfect as you can, and stretch that out a little bit. It's okay. What DC put out 3 weeks ago probably isn't even being talked about anymore. Because they're already talking about what came out this week. It gets lost in the sauce so quickly, but you can't afford to do that. You want that to marinate, a little longer in the slow cooker. So when you have something new, get people excited about it. Get people, create anticipation. Make it like an event. Oh, this is going to be so awesome when it comes out. And then when it gets out, marinate that a little longer. All right, how does everyone like it? Show me pictures of it. What are you looking forward to next? But there's announcement fatigue is a real thing, and I've spoken about that fairly recently. I said some of y'all are just announcing things, and there's you're just always announcing something. Well, where's the actual thing you're putting out? Where is that?
Dude, that's very true. Very, very true. I've seen that a lot with creators, with campaigns, where it's just like, this needs to keep going. Like, put it out, like give it to us already, or just like show us the existence of something. I totally left what my brain was about to say on that too. But actually, with a lot of creators as well, what they forget is typically, or majority of the time, the Kickstarter is the birth of your book, the start of it. Like, and just because your book went through the Kickstarter process and it got funded, that doesn't mean you just stop promoting it. That doesn't mean you just like, okay, it's done. It's fulfilled. That's it. It's still your book. Like, I think I heard like Tyler, the Creator, or someone say it, where he's like, my album came out a year ago. I'm promoting it just as hard as I did a year ago because I'm still trying to get people to listen to it and discover it. First off, as fast things move, you got to keep on reminding people that this exists and it's out there, because they might be excited when they see it, and then two scrolls later, it's gone. Their brains in general.
And if you're building your audience, maybe your audience, some of your new audience wasn't around when that thing came out. So like we're talking about Caffeinated Hearts. 3 years ago, I launched a Kickstarter for it, fulfilled it. Then it had a direct, release through Source Point Press. People found it that way. But if you're doing things right, 3 years later, hopefully you have more new people. Some people have left. New people are here. Let them know that's out there. So that Caffeinated Hearts newsletter I sent out for free got like 500 views. That's a lot. So that's me putting something out there. People were able to read it for free, and maybe someone read that and backed the Kickstarter at the tail end of it. So there's nothing wrong with that give and take.
And just a little CWS plug. Soon you'll be able to release that and then be like, do you want to buy a copy? And then they'll hit the buy one copy, and PODs to them in whatever country they're in, and you'll be able to sell your book while promoting it at the same time on your platform, which is going to be super exciting for you all. But aside from that, you know, gosh, I can't believe like our hour's almost up too. I just glanced at the
Oh
time.
yeah.
The
Oh.
fastest conversation I think I've had in a while, dude. This was so informative and so
Thank
much
you.
in. But before we wrap up and everything, you live in Italy. And
That's right.
so where does a lot of your market come from? Do you get a lot from, Europe and the UK and like that region, or are a lot of your sales and your backers in the States?
The States is the majority of all of it still. So I'm still marketing to the States more than I am Europe or any of the other continents or regions. Um, it's a different audience here in Italy. They're very manga and anime focused. The typical American traditional comic book isn't held in the same regard here in Italy. The reading periodically like that is that's not the format that they prefer. So the variant covers, you're not going to get an audience or sales from that. That's not a thing. That impresses them. Blind bags isn't going to do anything for them. That's just not their cup of tea. So because I'm creating American traditional comics, it's my audience is still very much in the States. So that's who I'm promoting to. But I do get backers and sales from around the world. It's just not nearly as many as I would love to have more. I would love to have I would love to be big in Japan, but right now it's still the States is the main focus.
Interesting. Is it because they want more of a collected edition more than anything, a concrete full story arc in that sense?
Yeah, that's the biggest thing, and the anime has been more popular here in Italy than it's still growing popularity in the States, but I mean they've had you know Naruto is huge here. One Piece is huge here. That was only scuttlebutt when I was in the States, but here it's been around. These people have been watching and enjoying this for generations. Not that one or two generations in the States that I've been reading or watching manga. From a mainstream point of view, yes, there's people who have been watching and reading manga for decades in America, but I think it only has become mainstream within the past couple of decades in America, where the if I was born, I was born in the 80s. If I was born in the 80s here in Italy, I would have already been, indoctrined to anime and manga a lot sooner.
Yeah,
So,
'cause I feel like that didn't hit America really hard until late 90s, early
yeah,
2000s with like Toonami and stuff like that kind of getting bigger.
right.
And that was
Yeah,
like the only place
Crunchyroll, the
to.
2000s. But I remember in high school, we were passing around this bootleg edition, VHS tape of Akira, like the FBI was going to come kicking it in our doors if they were caught watching it. Like it was that hard to get. Like we couldn't find it at the video store. You had to get someone who had a copy. You borrowed a VCR and you dubbed their copy onto another copy of playing tape, and then you could watch Akira all you wanted. And I think that's the only thing we had, and maybe reruns of Sailor Moon, and that's it was hard. It was not mainstream enough.
Oh, and then I think, even when I was in elementary, it was Dragon Ball Z and Sailor Moon. That was like it. That's like all
Yeah,
you really got more than anything. And so we
that's
were
it.
so behind on all of that. That's really interesting. I mean, I guess we've noticed that like as a company too, and just like formats and what people order and everything. Um,
Mhm.
but even in that sense too, like for fulfillment for your books, how are you knocking that out being so far with your base kind of here in that sense?
Comix Wellspring has been doing that for me. Yep. Since I moved to Italy, I've been outsourcing fulfillment with Comix Wellspring's fulfillment service, and it's been gone pretty well for the most part. The 3 campaigns I've fulfilled through CWS since I've been over here. Footpath will be the fourth one. Even though Alfred is in the States, we're still going to have CWS do the fulfillment as well. So,
dude, that's awesome. That's super cool to hear as well. I'm glad that we're doing that. And I know we're doing some updates and changes to that service to make it more accessible and easier, because the distribution model of everything right now is insane. So we're taking a lot of books on how to step in a bit and help, especially indie creators, just make sure their books are getting out there in a good sense.
100%. Yeah.
Well, Jonathan, this has been an amazing, informative hour of, understanding, platforms and how to promote yourself and how to stay, true to your vision as well, and keep your eye on the prize. And it's all about just learning from your mistakes, and just being a creator and absorbing everything around you and your influences. And, we look at creators that we adore and admire, and it's like, you got to do that with your marketing. You got to do that with your promotional stuff. So thank you for today. This was, I'm sure, great for the audience, but super great for me. So thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Any other shout outs, anything you want to direct people to? Your campaign has, as of right now, has 9 days to go. But anything else you want to shout out there?
We talked a lot about Substack. If anyone wants to subscribe or follow me there, the quickest way to get there, I have put my my website right there at the bottom, jonathanhedrickcomics.com. That is I call that my hub. That's my link tree on steroids. You can find everything there on my website. So you'll also find a link to sign up for my email newsletter on Substack through my website, jonathanhedrickcomics.com. You'll find links to the Kickstarter I'm running right now for Footpath. I have a ton of teaser trailers for a lot of my comic books, so you can watch the videos of some of the comics that maybe you haven't heard of. And I also have links on my website to purchase those comic books if they're available from the publisher, like Dream Master from BlackBox Comics. I was hired to write that. I don't crowdfund that. That's not a creator-owned property, but you can. There's a link to BlackBox's web store if you want to purchase Dream Master. Spill Blood, you can pick that up from Keen Spot through the link through my website, and so forth. And all my other social media links are on my website too. So jonathanhedrickcomics.com will keep you up to date.
Awesome. I love it. Thank you so much, Jonathan. And, to all of our watchers, check out the rest of the links here. We just put out a new Baltimore anthology from our event this weekend, which was a great time. I need to collect photos and make posts about it. But thank you to everyone who came up to us in New York and Baltimore. And check out the new anthology. We have it free on Global Comics for you guys to check out as well. But other than that, make sure you take notes on this interview. This was brilliant. So everyone save this one and refer back to it. Jonathan, thank you for your time today, dude. This was a blast.
My pleasure, Brandon. Thanks for having me on.